Alright guys, so today we are going to change the oil on this 2007 Mazda 3. The supplies you'll need: an oil pan to catch the oil, jack and jack stands, a funnel, oil filter, some good synthetic oil, a socket set, and some shop towels. The jack and jack stands are optional, but however for this car it's pretty low to the ground, as you can see, and I can't fit under there, so I'll have to jack it up to change the oil. Alrighty, let's do this. So this car has a splash shield under the engine that we will need to replace to access the oil drainage plug. This splash shield is held in place by 6 10mm bolts, and we'll replace those and get the splash shield off. Alright, so we ran into some troubles taking the splash shield off. There are these little clips here that are inside the splash shield that these bolts go through, and we were loosening the bolts and it would just spin and spin, and so we took a Dremel tool and we just cut one of these bolts off here, and then once we did that we could fish this wrench to the underside of the splash shield and then just used a socket to get the rest of the bolts off. Alright, so we just got the splash shield off. It was a bear. We ended up running a problem with these little plastic clips right there. We couldn't get that nut off, so what we did is it was mounted onto these holes here, here, and here. Took the nuts off, and then there was just a Phillips screw in there, and then just came off this little ledge right here. But splash shield's off. Now we'll move on to the oil change. Alright, so now we're going to begin the oil draining process. We're going to take this little cap off of here. I should pull off. There we go. That's how we're going to get all of the oil out of the engine. We're going to take our catch can, place it right under the drill, or under where the oil comes out, and we'll start doing that. So here is the drain plug for the engine. This is a 17mm bolt, and we'll loosen that and start getting the oil out of here. Alright, so we just have this 17mm socket on this bolt. We're going to back it out just a little bit. That should be good. Now we're just going to loosen it with my fingers, and a nice tip once you get kind of towards the end of the bolt is to push in so that you can get the bolt out without getting a ton of oil all over your hands. And there we go. So we'll just let that drain and we should be fine. Alright, so next step is to remove the oil filter. Just unscrew this, and some oil is going to come out. That's to be expected. Make sure you have it in the get the oil in the drip pan, and then just well, there's the oil filter. So here's a quick tip: whenever you're doing an oil change, always make sure to get a new crush washer on the bolt so that it gets a real tight fit and no oil leaks out onto your driveway, because that's always a mess. No one wants to clean that up. So pick up one of these crush washers and you should be back in business. Okay, so I'm just gonna tighten this bolt onto here. Finger tight, make sure you don't cross thread the threads on there. And take your 17mm socket. You want it snug, but not too tight. That should be good right there. Yep. Alrighty, and that's the bolt. So this is our new oil filter that we're gonna put on. A good tip is you want to take some clean oil that you're gonna put in the car and just rub it around this gasket and the housing to lubricate and get a good seal. Now we're just gonna thread this back where it came from, up there, and just with the bolt, similar, you want it tight, but you don't want it too terribly tight. So I think that should be good, and that's that. Alright, so this is just a new jug of oil, 5 quarts, and it's kind of funny actually. The owner's manual for this car recommends 4.5 quarts of oil with a filter, but it actually takes 4, so it's always a good idea to just go on Google, make sure you put the right amount of oil in your car, but you always check with the dipstick, so just triple check yourself and you should be fine. Alright, so what's kind of neat about old oil is that a lot of auto parts stores, they'll take your used motor oil and they'll recycle it for you. Okay, so after you fill up with new oil, what we're gonna do is you definitely want to put the cap back. Then we're just gonna jack the car down, and I put a little block of wood over the jack just to prevent some scratching, but that's not necessary. So we'll just jack it down, and then we'll check the dipstick to make sure the levels are great, and then that's it. Alright, so we filled it with about 4 quarts of oil. Took it for a short little drive, just to get the oil through. And now we're gonna check dipstick, make sure that our oil levels are good. So you take the dipstick out, wipe it down, put it back into the engine, make sure it's all the way down, pull it out, and now we look. Oil level is good, so that's our oil change. Wipe it off, put it back. There, back into place, and we're done. So that's how you change the oil in a 2007 Mazda 3.